I am filming.
Hi, I'm here to talk to you again about casualties versus courage. The purpose of my speech is to make you aware of the damage that has actually happened in the country since the Stand Your Ground law became, uh, like, took effect in 2005, and it started to snowball, and 23 states have adopted it. We have a lot of increased deaths per month because of this law. Before that, uh, before that, there was known as the right to retreat law, which gave everybody the option to not shoot to kill. That there was an opportunity to escape a brawl, that they would take it. And castle doctrine has always been in effect, and that's an important law that gives everyone the right to dignity and self-defense in their homes. But when Stand Your Ground was passed, it eliminated the right to retreat and basically took castle doctrine into the streets. So if you felt threatened or claimed that you felt threatened, you could shoot to kill anywhere rather than just avoid the confrontation and leave. When there's an option, they didn't have to take it. An exit, they did not have to take an exit. I was going to go through some history about some of the cases in the past. These are not Stand Your Ground cases, but it shows what happens when a psychopath has option to kill without any kind of penalty. In 1955, Emmett Till was 14. He went to the store to buy some bubble gum. He whistled at the cashier. He was later kidnapped, and he was murdered and thrown into the river. His killers were acquitted. After that, they gave an interview to a national magazine that detailed how they killed him, and they were never tried again because of the double jeopardy laws, and they were paid $4,000 for their confession. In 1970, Henry Dickey Merrill was killed here in North Carolina. He had gone to the store in 1970. He had also interacted with a girl in a store, a white girl. He said something to her. The people in the store freaked out, literally. And he did not, he didn't just run. They came at him, and he pulled a pocket knife because he was trying to defend himself. Instead, they pulled out guns, and they chased him into the alley, and they shot him repeatedly. They were also acquitted and caused a lot of riots. In 1970, in 2012, Trayvon Martin was the last example of this kind of mentality, where he was walking home from a store. He had just bought Skittles and tea. He was on the phone with his girlfriend. Some guy spotted him and thought he was suspicious because he was in the neighborhood in a gated community. He followed him, basically stalking a minor child who was unarmed. And the guy who did it was a 250 pounds mixed martial arts guy carrying a weapon. And he shot and killed him because the boy reacted to being followed, and he punched him, and so he killed him. He was also acquitted. Now, I want to speak about other options to this, instead of the mentality where it's gladiator mentality, where you have to fight to the death and win at all costs. Bruce Lee was 140 pounds, and he never owned a gun, and he never needed to. No one even attempted to challenge Bruce Lee, but he's not the only person. A person who has a background in martial arts and has self-esteem and dignity doesn't always have to react to a situation where you pull out a weapon. Like in the movie Indiana Jones, there was a scene where this guy comes at Indiana Jones with knives and all this stuff, and you think, oh, he's really dead, but then he pulls out the gun and shoots him from a distance. That's the kind of law the Stand Your Ground is. Now, even if there is no immediate threat, you're allowed to pull out the gun, shoot them repeatedly, empty your clip, and claim that you felt threatened. And like I said, this is happening so much now that it's ridiculous. Zimmerman here, 250 pounds. He claimed that he was afraid for his life. There were 911 calls with people screaming for help. He had all his family testify that that was him screaming for help. The kid was half his size. The most dangerous adversary is a coward who kills without hesitation. They're the most chicken of all humans. They are afraid of confrontation. If they do feel threatened, they will not, retreat. They won't call the police. They won't leave. Even if there's a clear exit, they will kill you on the spot and then blame you. 23 states have passed Stand Your Ground laws in the last 10 years. It just went like domino effect. Once Florida was the first, it just kept going and going. And like I said, there is an increase in deaths because of that, and about 23 extra homicides per month because of it. The reason this is important to me, and I started with the kids who were killed in racial incidences, is because I have 4 kids who are Arab, and they've been exposed to so many racial slurs and names and things living here in the last few years that it's unbelievable. And so when you see people target another person for their race or their ethnicity, it's upsetting to see that person stalk them, hunt them down, kill them, and then claim that they were the victim and the victim is the aggressor. That's happening way too much, and it has to stop.
True.
The killers of Emmett Till, Dickie Mara, and George Zimmerman were all acquitted. Out of all these 3 victims that I spoke about, only Trayvon fought back, and for that, he got shot. In the Zimmerman trial, the defense claimed that Trayvon Martin was armed with a sidewalk. He armed himself with a concrete sidewalk because supposedly Zimmerman was so wounded during this fight that he had to kill. He has a couple scratches on the back of his head, if you can see on the slide. He claimed that was the lethal force that he was resisting when he fired a bullet into his chest.
That was messed up.
So we must act together to repeal this law of gladiator mentality. In Florida, not only did they acquit Zimmerman, but there's also a law in Florida that not a lot of people are aware of. If you fire a bullet or a weapon into a dwelling, there's an automatic 20-year sentence that's not discussable. It's you can't get out of it. You serve the full 20 years. A few years ago, a black female in Florida by the name of Marissa Alexander, she just had a baby. The baby was 9 days old. Her ex-husband came over, and there was an altercation. She went out to her car. She got her gun from the car, and she couldn't leave the garage because it was blocked in with other cars. So she went back into the house where her ex was there and her children were there. But she fired a warning shot into a wall high up near the ceiling. When the police came, he told them within the first few days that it was his fault, that he had started stuff, and that he had a history of domestic violence, and they knew that, but he recanted that. Within a couple months, he recanted the entire story and said she tried to kill me and all this stuff. She wound up serving years. She was convicted. The same prosecutor who freed Zimmerman, basically, she was prosecuted by Angela Corey. She served years before finally it was overturned. And this was from a man. She fired a warning shot against an abuser but served prison, and Zimmerman kills a guy and serves not 1 day. Now, there's some really serious problems with laws like that. It's like they're trying to reward you. Push the gun, kill. You can't retreat. You can't retreat. And if you attempt to protect yourself without using lethal force, they punish you in Florida. We have a responsibility to our kids and to our brothers and our family to create a movement to repeal this law so that the people are not raised to believe that the only option is lethal force. Self-defense is a right. Dignity is a right. Courage is a value that we're supposed to respect. But when you automatically murder without even thinking of running, jumping over the fence, or escaping, when there's danger, there are other ways to live and stand another day, as they say, with fight or flight. Flight is not the cowardly way out. If you can leave and avoid committing murder and live, 50 more years, why not? Yes, you have a question?
So, what is your beliefs on the Castle Doctrine?
Okay, Castle Doctrine I think is very important. That's never been challenged. Everyone has a right to protect themselves in their own home. But when you take the street corner and make that your castle, there's a conflict of interest there.
Hey, there you go.
You shouldn't have
Nice.
this street corner, down by the bar isn't your Castle Doctrine, and because this guy said your girlfriend was ugly, you don't have to kill him. It's not, you don't have to pull out a knife either. You could just say,
I believe that,
you could find another way to resolve it and deal with
Cortez.
it without the fist fight, without the gun, without the knives. So, we have to train ourselves to use the discipline within us to kind of maintain, our self-control, which is something that this law lets us throw right over our shoulder. Self-control isn't an option anymore. It's just kill first and ask questions later. That is a problem. Because we must find a way to change attitudes first, and to change laws. We need like a federal law to repeal stand our ground.
10 minutes. You're at 10 minutes.
So we can create action, but it takes all of us to work together, because this is not the purge.
Good job. Thank you. Wow. Clap. Hey, very great, Mom. I love you. And just for the record, Mr. Arnhart, I, Jacob Hassouneh, I know you know my voice. I was here and I witnessed his speech as well. And I hope you like it. You want to take questions, Mom?
No, it's only supposed to be.
No questions.